Hey guys, and welcome to FaithWerks Designs. I'm Faith, and today we are working on a very exciting project because this is something I've been wanting to do for a very long time and finally put it on my pattern list. If you have not checked out my other patterns, make sure you do because they are very detailed. So if you are a very detailed person or like checklists, check out my patterns. Today we are doing the witch bucket bag. I had to put her separately from the other bucket bags that I've made, and I will show you those in just a second because her top is just a little bit different so that she could kind of have her little witch hat sticking up out of the top. But that is what we're going to be doing today. We're also going to be doing the binding method with her, but if you don't want to do binding, there is another method. If you watch the pumpkin video, it's going to have the turning method where you just sew a little bit, turn it inside out, and then top stitch it down. I figured there's a lot of you guys that do not like binding, and so I wanted to have an extra option for you guys instead of just binding. So we have a pumpkin and we have a ghost. He's so cute. So if you want all three, make sure that you check out the patterns. Alright, so we have double zipper in the front. You don't have to do double zippers, you could do just one. And so that is perfect to show you guys where the binding is going to be. So there's going to be one at the top, and then there's going to be one at the very bottom. We kept this really basic because you're going to be spending so much time on the top and then using your Cricut to be able to cut these out. There will be an SVG file. Alright, let's get started. Alright, let's go over our pieces. So your first two are going to be your zipper panel. You're going to have your outer and your lining. This one does not get interfaced. Then you've got your zipper flap. This one does not get interfaced as well. Then we've got our zipper gusset pieces. You're going to have an outer and a lining. Your zipper gusset will be interfaced, and so will all of your cotton pieces. You're going to have two of your D-ring connectors. Those are also going to be interfaced. This is your top knot. There will be no interfacing for that, and that's going to need to be an outer piece. Vinyl or so that it will stand up like it's supposed to. You've got your top knot cover. You've got your top. You should have two of those. You also need to make sure that they're interfaced and that you've cut out these little triangles. Those are going to come into play later, but that piece should be interfaced as well. You're going to have your outer bottom panel, and then you're going to have your lining bottom and top panel. Your bottom is interfaced. Then you're going to have your main body panel. You're going to have an outer with the face on it, and then you're going to have your lining. Your face is going to be interfaced. You'll also have your face backing panel. So essentially what you're going to do, it needs to be vinyl as well. You're going to put it right side to the wrong side of your face, and then when you stitch around it, you'll have your background. I did use waterproof canvas one time just for funsies, but I like the look of the vinyl versus that. So it's just up to you, whatever you want to do. You're also going to need something to bind your edges with if you're doing the binding method. I use the fold over elastic. I don't know if you guys have ever used it before, but it's actually really nice to be able to do around round corners. So if you want to use fold over elastic, go for it. I'm going to be using waterproof canvas, and I'm also going to be taking my lighter and just kind of going up and down the edges to make sure that that won't come undone or fray at all. I went ahead and put some double-sided tape in different places on the wrong side of my panel. If you want to tape a little bit more to make sure that this doesn't shift, that's fine. I'm going to remove the paper, take the face panel, and place it right side to the wrong side of your main body, and then just press it down. Now we're going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch 1/8 of an inch all the way around all of her little bits so that her face is nice and connected to that panel. Alright, so I have got my stitch length at a 4, and then I'm just going to go around all of these pieces, and I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry there are so many pieces to have to go around. But just 1/8 of an inch, go all the way around. Alright, so we got the face all done. That took a hot minute, but it's going to be worth it. Alright, you have your D-ring connectors. I went ahead and I edge coated just one coat of the edge coating paint. The one that I have is from Mojo Sews. It was a little more green than I wanted, but I think it still looks okay. When I put it together like that, I don't mind it. Alright, we are going to need to take our D-rings and then place our 1-inch D-ring connectors in the center. I did not prepare my interfacing. We're going to take a piece of double-sided tape in the center, and then I'm going to remove that paper and put those together. And then look at your D-ring. I cut mine out by hand, so it's not super awesome. I'm going to figure out which side I like for the front and which side I like for the back, and then add a piece of double-sided tape. I'm going to do the same thing with the second one. I'm going to place my D-ring on like that. I'm going to place my double-sided tape down like that. Take the paper off. Put both sides together. And then figure out what side I want to be the front and the back. That's done. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to lay our ruler down, and it is going to be 4 3/4 inches in on the side. We're going to take our D-ring connector, and what we want is the top of the edge of our D-ring to hit the top of our panel right here, and then have the round side next to the 4 3/4, just like that. And we're going to do that on the other side. I'm going to take my tape off, making sure that my D-ring is lined up across the top and on that side. Alright, now I'm going to need my small ruler and a marking tool. I'm going to be measuring from this fold right here 1 inch down. And if you have a vinyl that this will wipe off really well with, go ahead and mark all the way across. This does not mark, it doesn't come off very well on this vinyl, so I'm just marking in my seam allowance right here so that I know where my 1 inch is. What you're going to do is you're going to start 1/8 of an inch from the edge, so all the way across, and then down and back up again. So that is where that mark is going to tell us where to start and where to stop. Alright, let's go to the sewing machine and sew across, down, and back up. Alright, so I still have a 4-stitch length. I'm starting 1/8 of an inch away from the edge, and then I'm just sewing across with my needle down. I'm going to turn it around. It should look like that. Now I go on to the opposite side and do the same thing. Alright, now's the part where we're going to put our rivets in. And you're going to need one in the bottom half and in between the D-ring and this stitch line right here. So what I did was I took my little Geeky Helper tool. It has all of your rivet holes in it. There are tons and tons of tools out there that can help you make sure that your rivets are about 1 inch apart. I just laid this down so that sometimes when I like freehand stuff, one can be here, and then they look like this. So I took this tool, I laid it out, and I put it exactly where I wanted it. It should look like that. So they're right on top of each other, one in the center here, and then one in the center here. I'm going to take my rivet through the back, or my rivet with the stem through the back, and then I'm going to put my rivet caps on. Then you're just going to press those in place, and then we can move on to the next step. And it should look like that. Alright, so I have both sets of rivets in. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our main body lining, and we're going to take our short sides and put them together by clipping them together, and then at 1/4 inch we're going to sew these together. We're going to do the same thing with the outer panel and the lining. Alright, so I have got a 3-stitch length in now. We're using 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm just sewing down. Alright, the next thing is going to be a little harder to show you, but essentially what you're doing is we are going to push these seams away from each other. So if you've got a seam roller and you want to try and push that away, go for it. I'm going to finger press it as I sew, but basically you're going to want to go down this side, all the way down, and then back up this other side so that our seam allowance is sewn open. So I've changed my stitch length to a 4, and I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this for like a whole minute, so just bear with me. So I'm just sewing all the way down, and then when I turn it, I'm going to make sure that my needle is down because I don't want it going all wonky on me. And I'm just going 1/8 of an inch away from that seam. I'm hoping you guys can see what I'm doing. Alright, turning it around. Okay, and then I have a size 12 needle and it does not like turning. I don't know why. It's annoying, so I'm going to hand crank that. Make sure that your seam allowance is facing that way so that you're catching it. Alright, now you're going to want to do the same exact thing to your lining fabric. So pressing the seam open and then sewing down each side. Alright, so we've got both of those, the seams sewn down so that they're out of the way. This will help later on. We're going to put everything together. You won't have the bulk of the extra seam. Alright, so what you're going to need to do for both of your outer and your lining is you're going to need to find the back seam, come down here, find your center seam, make a notch. Do it on both the top of your bag and the bottom of your bag. That will give us the front center seam and the back center seam. Then you're going to put the front center seam to the back center seam, just like that, and then come over and find the right center seam and the left center seam and make a mark. And then you'll do that on both sides so that you'll have your back center seam, your front center seam, right center seam, left center seam. You're going to have to do that on the top and the bottom and on your lining. Then put that aside. We're going to grab our bottom main panel and then our bottom main panel lining. We're going to take these two and put them wrong side to wrong side. Clip these together, go to the sewing machine and base stitch around them so that they become one piece. And we're going to be doing the binding method on this one, so it'll be just easier to go ahead and knock that out. So let's go do that. Alright, these two are base stitched in place. Next thing I did was I put my edges together and made sure they were correct on each side. I did a taco method and just added a clip to hold that side together, found my side center, found my other side center, and made clips. Then I took the clips that I made and put them together, and then found the center here and found the center here and made clips. All this stuff is going to have the 4 notches so that we can kind of put everything together and make sure that it's right. Alright, now we're going to grab the zipper panel lining, and our zipper flap. What we're going to do is just like we did with the outer flap, we're going to take the short ends and put them together, sew them together, open up that seam allowance, top stitch the seam to the sides, and then we'll go to the next step. So let's go do that. Alright, so we're using 1/4 of an inch seam allowance to sew them together, and then 1/8 of an inch when we go to top stitch the sides down. Alright, so we've got our zipper panel all top stitched, the outer and the lining. We have got our zipper flap all stitched up down the center. What you're going to do is you're going to take these two edges and you're going to put wrong sides together. And then we're going to clip around this and clip these edges together to create our little flap. What we're going to do is we're going to take this at 1/8 of an inch and base stitch around just to hold those sides in place. I've got my 4 stitch length, and then I'm just going to go 1/8 of an inch around the edge. Alright, so that's done. Let's set that aside as well. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our zipper gusset, and our zipper gusset lining, and our 2 zippers. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to make sure that our ends are burned so that they don't unravel later. Then we're going to put our zippers on. So, spread the zipper teeth with your zipper pull facing this way. Put your left side in first, and then your right side, and then pull down. If they're nice and even, Steven, across there, then you've done it right. Go to the other end, put the other zipper on. You don't have to do 2 zippers if you don't want to. It's entirely up to you. I just like the look of it. And then pull down. Alright, that's done. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our outer panel, or outer zipper gusset. We're going to place it right side to the right side of our zipper, and I am going to clip them together so that they don't move. And then I'm going to take my lining gusset and place it right side to the wrong side of my zipper, and I'm going to add that to my little zipper sandwich. What we're going to do is at 1/4 of an inch, we're going to stitch these together. Alright, so I have got a 3 stitch length, and I'm just sewing 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to back stitch when I start and back stitch when I stop. Okay, this is a little zipper gusset. So on the opposite side of our zipper gusset, we're going to take the other side of the end of our zipper. We're going to put it right sides together. What I'm going to do is I'm going to base stitch this in place just so that it'll be a little bit easier when I go to add the lining into that party. So just gonna 1/8 of an inch, just gonna sew it in. Now you've got your lining on the left and you've got the back of your zipper on the right. We're gonna take this edge and meet it up with this edge. So we're just gonna take it and put it right side of your zipper lining, or your zipper gusset lining, to the wrong side of your zipper. So it'll look like that. And then sew across there. It should look like that. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take this outer panel and push it out. And it should look like that. If you have a nice round circle, then you've done it right. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our stitch length at 4. And then we're just going to base stitch all the way around that zipper gusset. Zipper gusset is on. The next thing that you need to do is fold this in half and find the center and make notches on both sides. Then take it, fold it, come down to the other end. This is the back center notch. This is the front center notch. You need to do that on both sides. Then put the center notches together like that. Find the right side center and the left side center on both sides of your zipper. And if you want to make sure that your zipper is not going to unravel, you just need to take a lighter and then just barely kiss that spot, and that'll melt that. And then if you're using nylon zipper, it'll melt that, and then you don't have to worry about it unraveling. Alright, set that aside. Alright, now we're going to be working on our top. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to put right sides together and then take it to the sewing machine. Now what we're going to sew is, hopefully you've got all of your lines up here, right? We're going to start at the side, come in to that line right there. We're going to be sewing 1/4 of an inch to that line and stopping. Then you're going to come over here and start at that line, come to the edge and stop, making sure to backstitch on each of those ends. Alright, so I've got a 3 stitch length. We're using 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, and then we're just sewing to that line. and back stitching. Now we're going to go down to the other end and making sure our panels are lined up. I'm going to start at that line and back stitch and then come all the way down. Alright, now what we need to do is open this up, and we're going to be doing just like we did with the other bags. We're going to be opening up this seam allowance, and we're going to be top stitching down one side until we get to that line, coming over and then back up again. So I'm going to put my stitch length at a 4. So it should look like that, and then that's what it'll look like on the top. And then I'm going to do the other side too, as well. Alright, so she's all sewn up. Next thing that I did is I took a piece of 1/2 inch double-sided tape and put one piece under each of the triangles. That is going to hold our triangles down out of the way while we're putting in the her little top. So I'm going to remove the paper, and then I'm just going to take each of the triangles and push them down. Alright, so it should look like that, and that on the other side. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our top knot, our little top piece for her hat. What you're going to do is you're going to need to take these corners and start sewing at 1/4 inch up and around. I'll take you to the sewing machine, and that way you can see exactly what I'm doing. But our little top knot needs to be sewn in all these little corners. Alright, I have got my stitch length at a 3. I'm going to take this first corner, put it together. We're going to start it like this. And we're using 1/4 inch seam allowance, so we're only making a couple of stitches. And then I'm going to back stitch. And then we're going to turn it with our needle down. And then just follow along. And then just like you would with a dart, you're going to sew right off the edge. Just like that, and you're going to do that for all of these corners. So it should look like that. Now take the next corner, put right side to right side. I will not tell you guys how long it took to come up with this shape. I will not tell you guys, but it was a while. Alright, now that we have got our top knot all sewed up, we're going to take it and turn it right side out, next to, and you want to just make sure that you're getting all of those points out, just like that. And then we're going to take some stuffing. That's what I had your stuffing for. Stuff that very top first, and make sure you get all those little crevices. I'll put as much as I can. Alright, now we're going to grab our top knot cover. And I don't know why I always put it wrong side to wrong side, but that's what we do. We're going to take one edge and line it up on one side of your top knot cover. Like that. And then go straight over across to the opposite side and clip that in place. Like that. And then straighten this out and clip on that side. Now you want this to be pretty firm, so I think I'm going to end up putting some more stuffing into this, but I just wanted to show you guys what it looked like that. And so you do want to put a little bit more so that it's not like, you don't want to like squish it, you want to put just a little bit more stuffing in there. So I'm going to do that, and then we're going to take it to the sewing machine, and then you're just going to base stitch around the edges. Right, so we have got our stitch length at a 4, and then I'm just going to start on one of my wider sides. What you're doing is 1/8 inch from the edge. You're just base stitching these two together so that your stuffing is where it's supposed to be, and then the little cover is doing its job keeping the stuffing in place. Alright, I think I might have stuffed mine a little too much. So don't put like too much stuffing in there, but you need just enough to make sure that she's going to stand up. Alright, next thing we're going to do is you have a wider side and then you have a side that has two seams. The two seams are going to be facing this side because they'll match up. The side that's a little wider is going to be put on this side together because they match up. So you just place it over top of it like this, and like I said, I think I put a little too much stuffing, but that's okay. So I'm just lining up my side seams like that. Alright, now what we need to do is we take it to the sewing machine, and then on our outer edge here, you can do 3/8 or 1/4 inch. You're just sewing your little top knot in place. It should be flush with your top, but because I put too much stuffing in it, it's not flushing. So I'm going to have to just kind of push it down as I sew. But anyway, we're almost done with the top. Alright, I've got my 4 stitch length, and then I'm just going to kind of press the hat away from the center and then sew the two together. Like I said, you could do 3/8 or you could just sew all the way around. The point is to just get that hat part sewn in. We've got our little top knot in, and it looks so cute. Next thing we gotta do is we gotta take our zipper flap, and we're going to make a back side of our top. So when you're looking at your bag, you need to find, I think that's a good side. So your widest part is going to be your front, and these sides are going to be the side of your bag. So I like the way that looks more than I do that, so I'm going to make this the back side of my bag. If you wanted to, you can make a center notch and find the exact center, but I'm just going to eyeball it. And that's what it's going to be like in the rest of our bag. So our back centers are going to be there all the time. You're going to clip that together and then just start clipping all the way around. And then we're going to take it to the sewing machine and we're going to base stitch our zipper flap to our hat so that they're together, and then we'll add everything else. Alright, I have got a 4 stitch length, and we're just going 1/8 of an inch from the edge just to base stitch them together. Alright, so we've got this all sewn on. We're going to set this aside for just a minute. We're going to grab our zipper panel lining, and our zipper. What we're going to need to do is find the back of our zipper gusset and our back seam of our zipper panel. Now, if you haven't already, go ahead and put the seam together, find the front center, make some snips, put the front and back center together, find the right center seam and the left center seam, make notches on both sides so that you have your front, back, and right center. Do that on your lining as well. So now we're going to take our center seam on our zipper panel and our center seam for our zipper gusset, and we're going to put those together. And then you can go around and start matching up the center fronts, center right side, center left side. Match all those up. I'm going to take this to the sewing machine and I'm going to base stitch these two together after I get done clipping this all the way around. Alright, so we have got a 4 stitch length. I'm making sure that my zipper is nice and close to the edge that they're meeting up, and then I'm just going to sew all the way around to base stitch these two together. Alright, so we've got that all base stitched to our zipper panel. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our lining now, and we're going to take our lining right side to the right, well, to the right side of this lining. You're going to take the right side of your lining to the wrong side of your zipper. We're going to match up all of those notches like we just did on the zipper panel by itself. And that way we make sure that we're where we are supposed to be. So I'm going to clip this all together, and then we'll take this to the sewing machine and sew at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Alright, now that somebody has chosen to cut the grass, I am going to start stitching with a 3-stitch length, 1/4 of an inch from the edge, connecting my lining and my zipper panel. Alright, we've got all of this connected. We're going to take our lining and our zipper panel and we're going to put them together on the edges so that the raw edges are facing out and being pulled away from our zipper. We're going to clip them together all the way around. Alright, now that it's done, what we're going to do first is we're going to top stitch down this side of our zipper so that our lining and our zipper panel are like just pushed away, and then we're going to top stitch or base stitch the edges. Make sure you put your stitch length to a 4. Have I mentioned how much I love grass cutting season? And I can't wait for a little bit longer because then I have to turn the AC on and off between filming. It's going to be so much fun. I can't wait. You literally cannot see what I'm doing, can you? Sorry. Alright, we've got that all done. Top stitched down our zipper and we base stitched our edges together. This will make this next step a whole lot easier. So, I'm going to grab our top again and we're going to put this raw edge against here. And I'm going to find the back. So this is my center back. I'm going to find the center back on here, and these two are going together like so. So right side to right side. It may be a little bulky after a minute in this one particular spot. So just FYI, she might get thick. Alright, put this all the way around, clip it in place. We'll take it to the sewing machine and base it in. And then we get to add our top, and we're so close to being done with the top portion of our witch. I've got you at a 4-stitch length and I scooted you over a little bit so hopefully you can see what I'm doing. At a 1/4 of an inch, I'm going to start sewing all the way around and connect our zipper panels to our little hat, our little top. Alright, so we have got our zipper panel on, all that jazz. Next thing we're going to do, you have 2 of your linings for your top and your bottom lining. We're going to grab your top, because it's the only one you got left, and what's going to happen is, it's going to end up like the bottom of the H2O to go. It's going to be too big. Well, what you're going to have to do is, if you want to, make your 4 marks, and that way it fits in there better, and I probably should do that. Haha, okay, I'll do it. Fine, you twisted my arm. But anyway, you're going to have to smash this in so that it fits. There's a reason why it's too big, because we're going to be turning this inside out. I am also going to be using some stuffing in this so that the top of my bag will kind of be a little fleshed out. But that's not why I added it. Alright, so we've got our 4 points. Now I just have to find out where they go. Okay, so find your corners, start clipping this in all the way around. You're going to have to kind of push that in and make it fit. There are reasons, and you'll notice that when we go to turn this right side out, after we do our binding, that if I had it smaller, it would have been too taut, and it probably would have like popped, or you would have had issues with it. So that is why I made it a little larger. So clip it all the way around, just like you did the H2O to go, just kind of tell it where to go and squish it in. Alright, so I have got my stitch length at a 4, and I had to straighten it up a little bit more. You do want your lining to kind of be where the edge is, so you are going to have to kind of push it down and make it do what you want it to do. I want to make sure that I'm not starting in the back. I'm going to leave a small hole so that I can put stuffing into this, and I will show you exactly what I'm doing in just a uno momento, por favor. So I've still got a 4-stitch length. I'm doing a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Can you see what I'm doing? Alright, so I left myself a hole to stuff my stuffing in. You do not have to do this, but I'm going to do it because I liked the look of the ghost when I did it, and kind of initially I wanted you guys to do that anyway. If you're doing the binding method, it'll be super duper easy for you to do. If you're doing the turn through method, I wouldn't recommend it, just because I don't know, the inside of the bag ends up kind of being lumpy on the top, and that's not what you want. This one looks like it's lumpy on the top, but once you turn it right side out, it won't be. Alright, so if you're adding stuffing, just add it and then kind of make sure that it's kind of dispersed evenly all the way around the top, so that you don't have like a big lump in the center. I dropped some on the floor. Okay, now I'm happy with that. I'm going to go back and sew that closed, and then we're going to grab some binding and then bind around the edges. Alright, I went ahead and I trimmed a little bit of my lining that was kind of poking out a little bit higher than the edge. You might have to do that. Mine was fighting with me to come out. Because this is round, fold over elastic would be so awesome. Unfortunately, I do not have any in stock right now, but if you've got fold over elastic, use it for this. You will not regret it, especially with it being round. I like to use it on a lot of my bags. I just used up the last bit that I had, making I think I made 15 Tamagotchis. Oh my goodness, it was so much fold over elastic, but it made the job so much easier because it is in fact so round to make that bag. So it was really nice to have. I just used all of it that I had. Okay, I'm going to clip this all the way around, and then we're going to go to the sewing machine and sew this in. Alright, so we got a 4-stitch length. We're just going to sew all the way around. Alright, our binding, zipper, all that stuff's on. Now take this and turn it right sides out. Okay, you see how the top is kind of poofing out a little bit? That's what I wanted. Let me show you another one that doesn't do that. Okay, so I didn't put stuffing in this one, so you can kind of see how it's not poofy, but this one is poofy, and I like it, and I think it looks more original having the poof. So I like it. Let's move on. Now what we're going to need to do is grab your main panel, and we're going to be working on the top. What you're going to need to do is take the right side of your zipper gusset to the right side of your main body, and we're going to clip those together. And this is going to be hard. Just FYI, it's going to be hard. I'm going to get the center back together, and then the center front, and then the center sides. That's what all of those little snips have been for this whole time, to make sure that everybody goes where they're supposed to. So match up all of your notches, and then we're going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to base stitch our zipper to our main panel. Alright, so we have got a 4-stitch length. I am just base stitching my zipper onto my outside panel, trying to make sure that my zipper stays along that edge all the way around. Alright, so that is sewn on. If you wanted to, you could open up your zipper, but I think I'm going to leave it this time because it didn't seem to really help. Alright, so take your lining and turn it right side out. I also want to make sure that my pumpkins, okay, are facing the correct way. Alright, so match up the back of your lining to the back of your bag, your center back, and then start matching up the center front, center left side, center right side, and then clipping all the way around. Alright, so I have got my stitch length at a 3, and you're going to have to just make it go in. If you added stuffing, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult to get that top underneath of there. Alright, so all the way around with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Alright, so we got our lining in. Next thing that we need to do is take this outer panel and pull it back, if that makes any sense. Okay, grab your lining from the bottom and start clipping all the way around. I would use a few extra clips here just to make sure that the bottom is staying with the bottom and that the lining doesn't end up slipping, because we're going to base stitch this first before we top stitch our zipper. Okay, so I've got my 4 corners clipped. Go ahead and just finish clipping all the way around. So we're going to take this to our sewing machine and base stitch around the edge of the outside. Then we're going to open up our zipper and top stitch underneath of this zipper. We've top stitched over top of it, now we need to stitch down here. Let's base stitch the bottom first. I've got a 4 stitch length. Want to make sure that your lining and your outer panel are meeting up on the edge. Now we're going to sew down the zipper, and we're going to do it this way because it's the easiest way to do it. Alright, but in order to do that, we're going to have to look out for our zipper pulls that want to hide. And you're going to have to keep the same seam allowance so that the outside of the bag looks really good. If you're weebly wobbling all over the place, the outside of your bag is not going to look good. So I am using my center foot here, and it's 1/8 of an inch away from the edge, so I'm just going to be using that as a guide. And I'm going to go real slow. When you get to where the D-rings are, just kind of pull those back so that you're not accidentally hitting them, or that it's making you accidentally stray from your seam allowance. Alright, we're all top stitched. It's all nice and even because I followed my foot and it looks good. Okay, the next thing we need to do is turn this thing inside out. So I'm going to take the top first. Now what I need to do is add on our bottom. So we have our bottom that has our lining. We're going to match up all 4 of our points, and it doesn't really matter who goes where at this point. Alright, we've got a 4 stitch length. We're doing a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. You guys are almost done. So I've got my left hand inside the bag, and when I need to, I'm just going to kind of push that the bottom panel in place. If it moves around a little bit, it's a roundy bit. We're sewing roundy bits. It just happens. But just be careful you don't get your hands. See, like now it needs to be pushed out. Let's put the binding on and then we're done. Alright, 4 stitch length. I'm just going a 1/4 of an inch. Our binding is all on. I've checked to make sure I'm all sewn around and that caught my binding. Next thing I'm going to need to do is take that bottom right side out. I love her so much, and she turned out so cute. Oh my goodness. Alright guys, so what did you think? I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, you can give it a thumbs up, or if you want to subscribe so you don't miss some other things that are coming up. I have a lot of plans for this, but kind of changing the top up and doing a bunch of other things. There may be a cut and sew coming very soon to a fabric shop near you. We're going to be doing different things with these, and we'll probably just do an add-on for the lid if that's the only thing that I change. But for right now, just to keep my brain straight, we're going to do the pumpkin and the ghost by themselves and then have her sold separately. That way, if you just want to make the witch, you can just have all of the directions for the witch. It's up to you. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section down below. I do check those daily. Thanks for joining us again on FaithWerks Design. Bye guys. Alright, for our other set of D-rings, we're going to grab our 2 D-ring connectors. If you flip them over, you're going to put a center line, then add a piece of Decovil light in the center. Then you can grab some double-sided tape and put it right down the center. Then you're going to take the paper off, and then take each side and push it down into the center. You're going to do that on both of them. Alright, now that you've got that done, the next thing that we're going to do is on the right side of your fabric, we're going to mark 3 inches down on one side. Okay, we're going to take this to the sewing machine, and on each side, so from this edge, we're going to stitch down with a 4-stitch length until we hit that mark and stop. Pull your threads out and cut them, and then we'll put them towards the back. So let's go to the sewing machine and do that. Alright, so there's my 3-inch mark. I'm just going to start right there on the edge. Pull it out, and then I'm going to pull the threads to the back when I get done so that it'll look like that. When you're finished, it should look like this. Next thing that we're going to do is on the wrong side, we're going to measure 3 inches down on the left side. The side that we don't have stitches on, you're going to measure 3 inches down. And then we're going to draw a line there. And then we're going to put a little bit of double-sided tape right past that line, just like that. And we're going to grab one of our D-rings, remove the paper, put your D-ring on, take the side that you did the stitches on, and then fold it over to that line and press it down. Then we're going to grab another piece of double-sided tape, place on the back just like that. Alright, once that's done, let's grab our main panel. And then what we're going to need to do is grab your ruler, measure over 6 inches. We're going to put our D-ring connector on that 6-inch mark. So just over top of that, you're going to have to kind of fold this up and look as you put it down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my paper off, and then where I can see this, there we go. So this center line is going to fall right on top of this line here, and you're just going to lay it down. Then you're going to go to the sewing machine, start stitching here, go up and start and put your needle down, come over and then back down again. So we're going to start at the bottom. We're going to come all the way up to where our stitches are. I'm going to go one more to make sure I'm there. There you go. With your needle down, turn it Alright, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to grab my ruler and measure in 6 inches. And then I'm going to grab some tape, place it down the center of the back. We're going to mark it 6 inches. And then I'm going to lean this towards myself so I can see what I'm doing. And then right down the center of that mark, you're going to lay this down, just like that. We're going to sewing machine and do the same thing we did. Sew up, over, and then back down again. Still got my 4 stitch sleeve. Alright, so that is both of your alternative D-ring connectors. If you were wondering what I was doing with the orange piece, I was putting it right here, kind of acting like a puddle jumper. I've heard it referred to as that. But anyway, it makes sure that this vinyl down here didn't get messed up, but it got messed up on here. Just I couldn't turn it around enough. So anyway, those are done. If that's the way you want to do the connectors, it's just another option in case you feel like this is a little more secure. And then you would just finish the rest of the bag like you would normally do.